Good day, good people, and welcome to Revolutionary Belovedness. I am Robert Farrell. Whether you are here for the live session or watching the recording, we thank you so much for being part of this community. If you will, let me know in the chat section that you can hear me okay. And know that the chat section is open during the whole session, so you can share it anytime something comes to your heart, mind, or spirit that you would like to share. Maybe you just want to use the chat section as a way to take notes. That's completely fine. Or you can say hi to each other. Tonight's topic is solidarity with all living beings, recognizing kinship with humanity and the wider community of life as a spiritual obligation. And now you are invited to find a comfortable position and allow your body to settle. Let the breath slow and deepen. Arrive fully in this moment. Bring to mind a living being, perhaps a tree you have passed many times, an animal you have loved, or a person whose face carries beauty and struggle in equal measure. And hold that being gently in awareness. Now let that image soften and expand, widening until it includes the street beyond, the sky above, the roots below, all of it alive, all of it breathing, all of it in some way kin to you. And rest in that expanding sense of kinship for a few breaths. When you are ready, carry that sense of spaciousness and kinship with you into our reflection this evening. Friends, there is a moment available to each of us when the ordinary world cracks open just enough to reveal what has always been true. Standing in a crowded place, a market, a street corner, a subway car, something shifts. The person across the way, someone whose life is entirely opaque, whose story has never been shared, suddenly appears not as a stranger, but as something astonishing familiar. A flicker of recognition passes through, quiet and certain, and for a breath or two, the boundary between self and other grows thin. And this is the moment wonder makes available to us. A threshold, brief and luminous. And what we find on the other side of it is solidarity. Not as concept or commitment, but as the felt reality of kinship with all living beings. Solidarity, once that threshold is crossed, reveals itself as something far more intimate than grand historical gestures suggest. It begins in the quality of attention we bring to the world. It lives in the willingness to pause long enough to ask, with genuine curiosity, Who and what is sharing this earth with me? What does this living being carry? What does it need? How is it flourishing, or how is its flourishing bound up with my own? And these questions, once they settle into the body rather than merely passing through the mind, change the way we move through the world. They change what we notice, what reaches us, and what we feel called to do. Solidarity is the name we give to the life that grows from those questions when we have the courage to ask them and to let them ask themselves of us again and again. Wayne Teasdale understood solidarity with all beings as one of the defining marks of a mature universal spirituality. Not a lofty idea reserved for these especially devout people, but a fundamental recognition of what it means to live consciously and fully on this earth. His vision was expansive. Solidarity was to extend beyond the human community to include trees and rivers, animals and soil, the entire community of life that breathes and grows and dies and generates around us at every moment. To live in solidarity with all of this is to inhabit a sense of deep kinship. To feel in the bones that the well-being of the whole is inseparable from one's own well-being. And this, Teasdale insisted, is not merely a beautiful way of thinking. It is a way of being that, once genuinely inhabited, reshapes everything. How we eat, how we grieve, how we act, and how we rest. That reshaping is the real work of solidarity, and it is lifelong. Solidarity asks us to remain in the practice of expanding our circle of care, pressing it outward past the familiar, past the comfortable, past those whose suffering we can easily imagine because it resembles our own. Valerie Kaur speaks of this as seeing no stranger, a practice and a destination at once, a discipline that, repeated over time, gradually dissolves the category of stranger altogether. The face across the table and the face of the child on a distant shore and the face of the animal in the field begin to register with the same quality of recognition. This one belongs to the same community of life I belong to. What happens to this one concerns me. This is solidarity made immediate, made embodied, made real in the texture of daily life rather than reserved for moments of crisis or conscience. And what sustains this kind of solidarity across a lifetime is the recognition that the kinship it honors is not something we create. It is something we discover and keep discovering in deeper layers the longer we practice. The DNA running through the human body is shared in varying degrees with every creature that has ever drawn breath on this planet. The oxygen filling the lungs with each inhalation has passed through the leaves of ancient forest and the bodies of countless animals across millennia. We are, in the most literal biological sense, woven from the same material as everything alive. Solidarity, then, is not a moral achievement we construct through effort. It is a truth we recognize through attention, a bond that already exists beneath the surface of ordinary perception, waiting to be honored. I wonder if this is why so many cultural traditions include a bow. The spiritual obligation to live in solidarity with all living beings is, at its root, an obligation to see clearly and to act from what we see. Each of the world's great contemplative traditions carries this recognition at its heart. Even when centuries of cultural accretion have obscured it. The Sufi mystic gazes at the face of the beloved and finds there the face of the divine, luminous and present in every human form. The Sikh understanding of divine light, present in every living being without exception, makes solidarity a natural expression of faith rather than an extraordinary act. The Christian contemplative tradition, at its deepest, finds in the Incarnation a God who chose embodiment, who chose kinship with the creaturely world, who chose solidarity as the supreme expression of love. Across these streams, to live spiritually is to live in ever-deepening relation with the divine, with the human, and with the whole community of life. You see, friends, solidarity is not the conclusion of that life. It is the form the life takes. This matters especially because solidarity, genuinely practiced, is always uncomfortable at its growing edges. It is relatively easy to feel kinship with those who are near, familiar, and beloved. The practice deepens precisely where comfort ends. In the encounter with the stranger, the enemy, the species we have learned to regard as lesser, the generation not yet born whose world we are shaping now. And it deepens further still when we are willing to do what genuine solidarity has always required, to voluntarily displace ourselves from the center, to step out of positions of privilege and ease and move toward those whose experience we have never had to inhabit. This is the movement from sympathy to genuine solidarity, from standing nearby to walking alongside, from offering assistance to entering into mutual relationship. The wisdom traditions that understand solidarity most deeply are consistent on this point. We need the perspectives of those on the margins far more than they need our help. True solidarity is walking and learning together, allowing ourselves to be changed by what we encounter, allowing another's reality to reshape our own. When the reality of another's inner life, vast, complex, alive with longing and grief and hope, when that genuinely lands in us through that quality of mutual presence, we find we cannot remain indifferent. Solidarity is not the feeling that produces this response. It is the commitment to keep returning to that encounter again and again, even when it costs something. Friends, the spiritual path, understood in this light, is a long practice of becoming equal to that commitment. To meditate is, in part, to loosen the grip of the separate self so that the larger life of which we are a part can be felt. To pray, in part, to align the will with a love that extends beyond preference and fear. To engage in any form of genuine contemplative practice is to be slowly reformed in the direction of greater openness, greater reverence, greater capacity to be moved by what is real. And to be moved by what is real in a world filled with suffering and beauty in equal measures is to be moved toward solidarity. The inner work and the outer commitment are, in the end, the same work seen from different angles. We were made for this. We were made for connection, for kinship, for the kind of boundless love, caring, compassion, and wisdom that Teasdale named as the deepest vocation of human life. That vocation is not completed in a single act of solidarity or a single season of awakening. It unfolds across an entire life, each day offering fresh opportunities to widen the circle, to honor the bond, to act from the recognition that every living being before us is, in ways we are still learning to see, a part of us we do not yet fully know. Solidarity lived from that recognition ceases to be an obligation felt as burden. It becomes slowly and surely the most natural thing in the world, the joyful, humble, lifelong expression of a heart that has chosen again and again to remain open to the whole of life. Take a moment, friends, to arrive fully in your body before we begin with our guided inquiry. Let the shoulders soften. Let the jaw release. Let the breath find its own natural rhythm, slow and unhurried. Our practice this evening invites you into a contemplative exploration of solidarity. Not as an idea to be analyzed, but as a living reality to be felt. We are going to move gently inward, guided by the understanding that kinship with all living beings is not something we manufacture. It is something already present, waiting to be recognized in the body, in the breath, in the quiet space beneath ordinary thought. And all that is asked of you is a willingness to be present and to notice what arises. So allow your awareness to settle into the body now. Feel the weight of it, the heaviness of the legs, the solidity of what holds you. Notice the breath as it moves through the chest and the belly. And as you breathe, become aware, even briefly, that this breath is shared. The air filling you now has traveled through forests and oceans, through the lungs of strangers, and the leaves of trees older than any living memory. You are, in this moment, breathing with the whole of life. Let that land somewhere in the body, not as a thought, but as a sensation. Perhaps a softening, perhaps a warmth in the chest, Perhaps a subtle opening, as if something that had been held begins to loosen. And just notice whatever is present without needing to name it precisely. Good. Now, bring to mind a living being, someone you do not know well or perhaps at all. It may be a person you passed on the street this week, a face glimpsed in a crowd, someone whose circumstances are far removed from your own. And hold that being gently in awareness. And notice what happens in your body as you do it. Is there a reaching toward, a drawing back, a flatness, a flicker of something that might be curiosity? Let whatever is present be exactly as it is. Now, gently ask yourself, not from the thinking mind, but from somewhere deeper, what does this being carry? What weight moves through their days? What longing lives in them that mirrors something in you? You don't need answers. The asking itself is the practice. Stay with the texture of that question in the body. Where do you feel it? In the chest, the throat, the hands? Does the body carry any sense of the distance between you and this person being? Does that distance soften? Solidarity lives in that softening. Let the image of that person slowly expand now, widening outward. Allow it to include not only the people in your immediate world, but those far beyond. The child in a country you have never visited. The elder whose language you do not speak. The communities whose suffering rarely reaches the places where you live. As that circle widens, notice whether there's any quiet invitation arising. An invitation to move toward rather than obscure from a distance. To imagine stepping out of the familiar center of your own life and into the reality of another. Even the willingness to feel that invitation in the body is itself a form of solidarity beginning. Let the circle widen further still beyond the human, to the animal, to the river, to the soil, to the forest. And notice what the body does as the circle grows. Does something in you want to contract? Does something else want to open? Both responses carry information. Both deserve your gentle attention. Take a moment now to rest in the widest circle you can hold without forcing. From that place, ask your body quietly, where in my life is solidarity already present? Where am I already living as though the well-being of others is bound up with my own? Let an image or a memory arise, something simple and real. And notice the quality of that memory in the body, its color, its texture, its weight. This is not imagination. This is recognition. We will move into the silence now for a few minutes, simply breathing, letting whatever has arisen settle gently into the body. You can carry with you this, breathing in, I am held by all that lives. Breathing out, I offer myself to the whole. Breathing in, I am held by all that lives. Breathing out, I offer myself to the whole. When you are ready, begin to return to your ordinary awareness. Wiggle your fingers and toes. Listen to the sounds in the room around you. Carry with you whatever arose in this practice, the sensation, the image, the question, the softening. There's no need to resolve or explain it. Let it continue to work in you throughout the day to come. Friends, I have 4 reflection questions for you. I'm going to share them now, and they will also be in the recording section on the Mighty Network, so you can tune in there. Let me go through these. And if you'd like to provide, a brief response now in the chat, you can certainly do that. First, solidarity with all living beings can feel like an expansive and even overwhelming invitation. So reflect on where in your daily life, in small ordinary moments, you already experience a felt sense of kinship with someone or something beyond your immediate circle. And what does that feel like in your body? And what conditions seem to make it possible? Next, Wayne Teasdale understood solidarity as extending beyond the human community to include the whole of life. Animals, rivers, forests, soils. Where do you notice resistance in yourself to that wider solidarity? And where do you notice genuine resonance? What do you think shapes the difference between the two? Next, Valerie Kaur speaks of seeing no stranger as both a practice and a destination, something we move through repeated intentional intention. The solidarity reflection that I shared, we explored, goes further, suggesting that genuine solidarity requires voluntary displacement, a willingness to step out of positions of comfort and privilege and into mutual relationship with those whose experiences differ radically from your own. So, where in your life do you sense that invitation most clearly? And what would it mean for you to observe or to move from observing the struggles of others to genuinely walking alongside them, allowing their reality to change yours? The reflection we shared suggests that solidarity is not something we create through effort, but something that we recognize through attention, a bond already present, waiting to be honored. So, how does that framing land for you? In what ways does understanding solidarity as recognition rather than achievement change how you relate to the call to live it? Well, those are our 4 questions. Again, friends, whether you were here for the live session or you're watching the recording, thank you so much for being part of this. I look forward to seeing your responses to one or more of these questions in the Mighty Network chat section. And I hope to see you again next week. Let me bow again. Have a wonderful evening. Blessings to all.